In her 62 years in Plainfield, Beverly Cook says the rash of violence last year.
And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Barguerena.
And I'm Mike Gilliam. We have breaking news right now from the inaugural parade route. There have been violent clashes by protesters with police in downtown Washington, blocks from the Trump inauguration parade route.
Across the city, protest rallies were planned for today as well as tomorrow, culminating with the massive Women's March. Protesters began gathering before sunup in downtown Washington, protesting Mr. Trump's immigration policies.
We have a reporter on the scene. Our Kimberly Wallace is nearby, not too far from where those protesters are right now. We're going to go to her right now live. Kim.
That's right, Mike. We are at 12th and K Streets. We had to actually walk about 7 or 8 blocks away from the parade route to this protest area where the incident happened. You can see the police behind me are stopping protesters from going anywhere near where the incident happened. We're told about 12 people were arrested. Police were spraying pepper spray into the crowd, and I talked to someone who was actually sprayed in the eye, and he said that there were medics nearby who had milk drops for the crowd. So I asked them, were they prepared to be pepper sprayed? And he actually said yes, that does happen sometimes during these protests. He also said that several organizations who were protesting Trump becoming president was also, I'm sorry, something's happening behind me, was also the reason that all of a sudden 1,000 people came together, and that was part of the problem. I'm here with Minister Matthew Wilkie, the minister of a church about a half a block away. Tell me a little bit, you were in the crowd, tell me a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, it looks like there were a few demonstrators who began to throw stones, and then the police responded with tear gas or pepper spray and stun grenades. So I saw, looked like a high school girl get stun grenade right at her feet. They just threw them all over the place, and there were just a few rocks. So it began to escalate pretty quickly, and as you can see, they pushed through and they blocked off several streets, and they've been pushing people back, and now they're sending in more and more police as things continue to escalate. And so it's
what caused the police to act?
Well, there's just been demonstrations all day. I've been out here since 7 a.m. and I think just there's been more and more energy in all of the different groups. They've been groups at all different gates to the inauguration ceremony, and so now all of those groups are coming together and making bigger demonstrations. And I think there were some demonstrators that might have broken into some buildings or something, but I don't know where those were. Most of the protests have remained nonviolent most of the day.
Sure, most of the protests, we were along the parade route and we saw protesters throughout, but nothing like this. Like I said, we had to come very far off of the parade route, and I made that point for a reason. Now, from what we're hearing is that cars were, their windows were crashed into, a Starbucks, a McDonald's, even a bank. Did you see any of that happen?
I was not there at that part of the protest. I rejoined here when the police began to retaliate to some of the demonstrators, and it escalated very quickly, and they became very aggressive and were pushing people down, and so yeah, it's as you can see, they're not budging, and they've become quite aggressive. So
yeah, you can see the police behind, making sure that again nobody goes into the area where the incident apparently happened, right off of 12th Street and K. What would you like to tell people? They see protesters and they might think it was inevitable. Like I said, they had the milk drops ready to go. Yeah,
I think when you get involved in direct action or nonviolence, you just should be prepared, because this is how police are trained to respond. It's very militarized. They have special tactics ready to disperse crowds. So I've been seeing police drive their motorcycles through dense crowds all day, all kinds of things to try and break up crowds. But I think if you're into different kinds of justice work, if you care about your community, you end up standing up despite whatever the police, because you believe, just because it's law doesn't make it right. And so that's what I'm here in my neighborhood representing my church. So
thank you so much for your time. And the rain, you talk about crowds dispersing, the rain is starting to fall, so that could also have an effect. Again, police behind me, you can see them blocking off K and 12th Street right now. Some people, protesters, have been asking them questions, getting in their faces a little bit, but they are not budging. And we will have more as we continue to cover here. We're live in D.C. Kimberly Wallace, 501 News. Back to you guys.
Kimberly, thank you. The parade was supposed to begin a few minutes ago at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are now learning because of the protest that parade has been pushed back until about 3:45 this afternoon.
And what we just witnessed there was some video from not too far from the parade route, about 7 or 8 blocks. Kim Wallace showing us some of the clashes between police